Welcome everyone to another episode of 305 Vox Populi with Mayor Manny Cid, just that he couldn't make it today. So I'm Ariel Gomez. You've probably heard a lot of me, you've seen me before, and today we have a very special guest on this episode, Miss Tiffany Lorente Pazos, the founder and CEO of Lorente Pazos Consulting, right?
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. But before we continue with the interview and we move on, today is the last episode of this season. So we're going to do something a little bit different. So it's the last episode of the school year, and we're actually going to have a student that this is his first year in the TV Academy for Matter Lakes, and he's going to be the one conducting your interview. I hope that's okay with you.
Perfect.
You're
Trial by
in
fire.
for a treat.
Let's go. Yes.
So Michael Saldivar, please.
Hello everyone. It's my first time doing something like this. I'm a little bit nervous, so sorry if but
Don't be nervous.
we'll try our best. All right, so let's get straight into it. What is your educational background? Like, what did you do to kind of get to where you were now?
Well, I started initially in the public relations field, and funny enough, I ended up back there because everything is a circle. I started in public relations, and then I ended up in public administration because I learned that public service is really more of my passion. I graduated Miami-Dade College with a public administrations degree, and then I ended up at FIU earning an international relations, a bachelor's in international relations, because of my ability to switch from English to Spanish in no time.
Oh, there you go.
So that's my background in education.
All right, and we were having a conversation previously before the podcast started, and a very specific question that we asked each other, but for the camera, for the audience, is how exactly did you end up in the Senate working with that kind of group?
So how I ended up in the Senate is a little of a serendipitous story, kind of one of those everything came together, all the stars aligned type of story. I was working at a charter school in South Dade that I attended as a child, and I was a first grade teacher's assistant. I had 90 first graders under my belt, 3 separate classrooms, 30 students each. I attended the end of the year celebration that they have for the teachers and all the staff in all of the schools across Miami-Dade and Broward County under this charter school branch. It was also my first date with my husband. And so this party, he was my boyfriend at the time, and now he's my husband. He won the lottery that night too.
Congrats.
And so nothing, long story short, it's the end of the night. We're having a conversation, a group of us, of adults. And one of the gentlemen in the group says that he very much admired Fidel Castro.
Oh.
And my inner, I'm going to say it in Spanish and then in English, hija de cubanos exiliados, right? So my inner Cuban daughter of Cuban exiles, came out with all the forces of anything you could think of. Like Hurricane Andrew had nothing on me. And I basically turned him into ground beef. I left him this big. And someone in the group overheard me saying, just speaking, it was very elegant and very articulate in the way I told him, "You are absolutely wrong. What are you doing here?" She just turns to me and says, "I have a friend who's a state senator and she's looking for an assistant. And you sound like the perfect candidate for this position." And I said, "Cool. Okay. I'll send you my resume." I sent her my resume on the spot because I had it on my phone. So word to the wise. Get OneDrive, download your resume to your phone, and have it ready to go. I sent her my resume on the spot. 2 weeks later, I had the interview. 3 weeks later, I had the job.
Wow, so that was quick then.
It was very quick. This was June 6, 2015. June 27th, 2015, I had the job.
Wow.
Yes.
Would you say that your speaking came a lot from your schoolwork, or would it come more from like high school time, or did you just always have this ability to speak very elegantly?
My mother's favorite joke to make is that the biggest mistake you can make is give me a microphone because I'm taking over. The moment you give me a microphone or a platform, I'm going to take over. I would say my speaking background comes from being my father's daughter, though. My dad can talk to the wall. And yes, I did. It's a natural thing for me to be able to have a conversation about anything and everything. And if I don't know, I will listen to you intently, which is another word to the wise. If you don't know, stay quiet, take notes, learn. It's always better to listen. But I would say that definitely my ability to speak is because I am my father's daughter.
Wow. Okay. There you go. So, like you said, word to the wise, speak well, you know? Just gotta go out
Do
there.
your thing.
So, another question is, what exactly do you do as a career? Like, can you give our viewers an insight into what your daily life is, you know, in your, as your
I'm gonna interrupt a little just to help Michael out. Can you talk about how, you know, you go from the Senate floor and from helping in the Senate to consulting, and how did that change come to be?
Perfect. All right. So my transition from the Florida Senate, I was there for 5.5 years. COVID came and did its thing to the Florida Senate and the Florida legislature like it did to everything else. In those 5 years that I was in the Florida Senate, I was in charge of Senator Anitere Flores' social media and her newsletter. So I was in charge of basically letting the constituents know from Miami-Dade County and Monroe County what was going on, what the senator was doing, where the senator was going to be, where the senator was, if she was in a committee, if a bill made it through the Senate floor, if a bill was signed by the governor, how much money she brought to Miami-Dade County, if any funding came to different areas of Monroe County, which is the Florida Keys. I did that for her for 5.5 years. She was a pioneer in the Twitter space. I want to say, it's a bold statement, but a pioneer for at least the Florida legislature, the Florida state level. She was a pioneer in getting the Twitter following, oh, hey, Florida Department of Transportation is performing this construction project for X amount of days in this specific location in District 39 at that time. This is what we're doing. We would share all sorts of content. And I became very, I want to say particular about ensuring that her content was both of quality, but also educational. It's important. A lot of the constituency don't realize, so many residents of Florida don't realize what their Florida senator does, what their Florida state representative does. There's a lot of resources that the state has for you. And so I made it my mission with her social media, which I still do. And I do it for another senator as well, Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez. We ensure that the constituency knows what's going on, but also knows about the resources available to them as residents of Florida, as residents of Miami-Dade County, unincorporated Miami-Dade specifically, and Monroe County, because Senator Rodriguez also has Monroe County. So I started with a personal blog, which grew into running the social media accounts of Senator Flores and the newsletter. And once COVID hit and she was no longer elected in office, she termed out, Senator Rodriguez wins the election, and I opened my consulting firm. So it was a perfect storm, again, another type of perfect storm situation. All the stars aligned, and I start working with Senator Rodriguez, and that branched out into other clients and small businesses, realizing and expressing to the senator and to me, knowing that I'm in the background of it, hey, how do you come up with content that is educational? It's incredible that you come up with content that it doesn't necessarily have to be viral, because going viral is a two-edged sword. So, oh yes, oh, cool, you have, 1 million views, right? Just to throw out a number. But that 1 million views, if you're a small business, can really throw you off course, because yes, you grew, but you grew overnight, and were you prepared for that type of growth? It's a double-edged sword. The same thing can happen for an elected official. Does that elected official want all that popularity? The popularity can be positive, it can be negative. It's a double-edged sword. So the mission, my mission and my method of going through the content is to ensure that it's educational, quality, clean, and something that the constituent interacts with or engages with, or the client or the potential client that my client is, their audience, takes away, hey, I didn't know XYZ,
Yeah, so transparency basically is what you're saying.
Transparency, but also educational, because just because it's transparent doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not,
Yeah. Would you say there's ever been a challenge while working in that kind of field, that there's always been like that one thing that it's kind of difficult to get into, or it's something very specific that it's not for everybody in that sense? Like, let me see if I can rephrase it a better way. Would you say that there's a certain challenge when it comes to your field of work?
Well, like any field, the biggest challenge with social media is that it's ever changing, which is also one of the blessings of it, because if you don't understand this trend, you'll understand maybe the next trend. But trends are also, do you really care to participate in the trend? It's all on personal preference. But in terms of challenge, I think the biggest challenge I face is helping a certain, helping different generations, but also helping different communities and different types of businesses understand the value and the importance of having a social media presence. You don't need to be on every single platform, but you do need to find the platform that is incredibly productive for your content to be on. You need to find, for example, I have a client who's an air conditioning company, right? So they're called AMP Air Conditioning here, and they're very close by in Hialeah. A lot of their work is commercial air conditioning, right? You would think, what can we learn from commercial air conditioning other than the fact that we're sitting in it right now in the wonderful HVAC system that this building has? Commercial air conditioning, you would never think that they have a huge audience on LinkedIn. There's a lot of general contractors on LinkedIn. There's a lot of subcontractors on LinkedIn. And we live in South Florida. And what is the one thing everything in South Florida needs to have? Air conditioning.
It's really hot.
Really hot. You would never think that an air conditioning company would thrive on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the professional blackboard. But there you are, showing buildings, amazing buildings, the Dania Beach condos that they are currently working on with a general contractor. You would never think, but there you are.
Oh, wow. I thought LinkedIn was more like, here's my resume.
Right. That's what you typically, but LinkedIn has grown into something else. And LinkedIn is very important. LinkedIn presence is incredibly important. But then I have another client that's a tag agency, and they're not present on LinkedIn because it's not really the audience they want to target. They want to target people on Instagram who are scrolling through and they realize, oh my God, my tag is about to expire. You know what I mean? Or does my trailer have the tag that it needs? Does my boat, things like that.
Would you say that your content is more targeted to the people of Florida, or is it just in general?
My content, it depends on the client. If it's a legislator for a specific area in Florida, it has to be specific to Florida. The tag agency, West Flagler is the tag agency. I have to make it specific to Florida because our laws here are very different than Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina in terms of tags. Your sticker here it matters in Florida, but in Georgia it doesn't mean anything,
Yeah.
However, other clients that I have, air conditioning works across the country, across the world. So it really just varies on the client.
And would you say your content is more towards a professional audience, or does it also target, people like myself and my age group, like teenagers, or is it just more towards like the older group, the more adult group?
Again, it depends. I sound like an attorney today. It depends. It really depends. I have a law firm that's a client, Cava Law in Coral Gables. They have some of the content that I create for them is about the importance of teaching teenagers, even children in elementary school, financial literacy. Oh, hey, look, this is how many, the importance of money, to put it away, what is debt, things like that are age relevant. That's some of the content that they put out there. And it is relevant to you as a student because you're a sophomore, correct? Mm-hmm. So as a sophomore, you're supposed to already be thinking about what you want to do for college, SAT. Do I have waivers available as a student to take my SAT? How much is a college application? Do I have any money saved for my college education? Things like that. So a lot of the conversation in your mind going forward now in your educational career will definitely be surrounding money.
Yeah.
So their content is relevant to you. Your air conditioning content is also relevant to you, because if you're home alone and you don't know how to deal with that thermostat, you're going to need help. And if you're moving into an apartment that you need to change, as you know, going into college, that you need to change your air filter, one of our repeating posts is, hey, don't forget to change your air filter.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be relevant to you. But again, it depends on the account.
And you created the consulting business, correct? The one that
I established it.
Where do you think, how exactly did that come to be? Because I know that you worked with the Senate and all that, but was there a certain moment where you said, after working as an assistant, that it's like, you know what, I think my passion is consulting for social media?
So it's more marketing and event coordination. It's called consulting because I can advise you on what you should be doing or you shouldn't be doing. The idea came from Senator Flores. You're really good at this. You're really good at creating the educational content. You're really good at knowing which municipality needs to be highlighted under each district in the Florida legislature, specifically the Miami-Dade delegation. She came up with the idea because I had a lot of other elected officials coming to me and asking me questions. And if you're good at something, don't do it for free. So that's another life tip. If you're good at something, don't do it for free, even if what you're really good at is tying shoes. Okay? Yeah. Everything is an honorable job. And she comes up with this idea, and I said, I pondered on it a little bit before she termed out, and I officially, I took the LLC in 2019 to keep my name so that nobody would take it from me. And then in 2020, it really just, as your generation says, popped off.
Would you say it was very sudden? I mean, how it grew to be it, or was it very gradual, little?
It's been organic, and it's been gradual, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have 20 million followers and things like that, but it's been gradual, and I'm grateful for how it's grown, because the amount of things I've learned about the community through my clients and through owning a business, it's invaluable. It's just you can't put a price on that.
Got you. You want to take it? All right. Perfect. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for having me on here.
No problem. Thank you for coming.
So that was Michael. I can't wait to see his own podcast, I think. I know, there's a future there, right?
I think he has a future.
I mean, as a consulting specialist, you would know better.
I think he does. I think he really does. He's really good at the questions, and we can work on tweaks.
I think progress makes perfect, and practice makes perfect,
yes,
right?
Practice makes perfect. Absolutely.
So I was listening to you and what you had to say, and I think one of the most important things that I heard and that I picked up on was that, like, social media, we live in the era of social media. We live in a society that, like, who are we without social media?
Right.
But it's so important to know what you're tailoring your content for, or
right,
who you're tailoring your content to, and it's important to not miss the mark. And I think that's something that I wanted to to get your input on, because, like, so many times I get these students that, like, they don't really, they think it's all about influencing, but, like, what is influencing, and what do you think are pillars of influencing within like politicians? Like, how do you make sure to not miss the mark when you're creating content for a politician?
The content for a politician needs to be, piggybacking on what he said, transparent. Every district is different. You don't represent the same group of people in Hialeah as you do in Westchester. Even within the same district, you have a huge difference. For example, the district that Senator Flores had, District 39, we had Miami-Dade and Monroe County. And even just within Monroe County, which is Upper Keys, Middle Keys, and Lower Keys,
but totally different.
Are completely different.
And Monroe County,
completely different. You have issues in the Upper Keys with iguanas, invasive iguanas, which is completely irrelevant to the water pump issues that you have in Key West.
Right.
The only thing they have not the only thing, but the bigger thing they have in common is hurricanes. Everybody hates those. So to not miss the mark, you need to make sure that the elected official you're creating content for is genuine when they are delivering their message. You need to be, you become a politician when you're elected, but first and foremost, they need to remember that they're public servants. So you need to let your constituency know, hey, I'm here. This is what I'm learning about. This is what I am debating on in whatever chamber they are debating in. And this is my, what do you, having elected me to represent you, what do you want, what do you think I should be voting on in terms of the best interest of the district if you have any input, and let your constituency know that you value their input. And that's how you don't miss the mark.
So I think it's so interesting how social media becomes that liaison between your constituents and yourself, and it becomes a very interactive situation, as opposed to maybe, when you're, let's say Kim Kardashian, she's putting more out there, like content for you to buy this product, or for you to appreciate or admire certain things.
Right.
But when it comes to politicians, in this case, it's all about interaction and creating that connection with your audiences.
Right. It's two different types of consumption, right? So Kim Kardashian is putting consumer content out there for you to consume her products, or consume the products that she's being paid to advertise to you, to lure you into, right? An elected official, a politician, is creating this content for you to consume, but you're consuming information. So the value that you're gaining from Kim Kardashian is a lip gloss.
Right.
The value, or, a Skims dress, is whatever she sells. The value that you're gaining from, Senator Rodriguez or Mayor Manny Cid and his content is, what is the city of Miami Lakes doing? What am I learning from the city of Miami Lakes? Do we have any programs? Do we have an Easter egg hunt coming up? The value of the information is very different, and you're consuming. It's still consuming, but one, you're consuming information and value, and the other one, you're consuming lip gloss and spending money.
Okay, and that's I love that concept of consumption, but different types. I've always asked this question: should we be afraid of commenting? Like when we see a big politician, a lot of people comment, and then I've had even students tell me, like, oh, but we shouldn't be commenting. Like, we shouldn't be saying our real thoughts. Like, we shouldn't be too honest, because that's not a good thing. And then your print is out there, like it's with your name, with your profile.
That stems in the fear of cancel culture, which is a whole other episode or series of episodes. But I don't think you should be afraid to comment, as long as your comment is respectful. And if you don't think that the social media platform is the place for your comment, I highly encourage you to schedule a meeting with your elected official or email them. The staff will read it, but here's a secret about elected offices: staff rules the world. So don't be afraid to comment. Make the comment. Let the elected official that you voted for, even if you didn't vote for them, they're representing you in some sort of chamber, whether it be at the state level, the congressional level, or City of Miami Lakes level. Let them know what your thoughts are, and respect goes a very long way. I understand that sometimes topics get heated and they get very controversial and emotions take over. If your comment is going to be one of those that is just going to lash out at the elected official, realize that the elected official is also a human being with feelings, right? And the staff for reading this is going to have to buffer that comment to this elected official. So you're making someone's job that day a little bit harder than it has to be.
If you want your message to be heard, then you need to say
respect,
it the right way.
Yes. Yeah. Respect goes a very long way, and clarity. Be clear in your message. Hey, I didn't appreciate that you voted on SB, 740 this way. This is why. I would like to meet with you so that you understand. Is there something that we can do? Amendments are a thing. It goes into a whole other rabbit hole. But as long as it's respectful, you shouldn't be afraid to comment, because that's the purpose of the social media platform. It's free, it's open to everybody, and we have this wonderful thing called the First Amendment.
Great point. Some people might forget that it's there, but it's
definitely there.
Well, thank you so much for so many great points. And how can we contact your firm? If anyone listening to us wants to get in touch with you and maybe pick your brain or maybe hire your services, how can we reach out to you?
Absolutely. So my Instagram handle is Lorente Pazos, at Lorente Pazos Co. And you could just message me there. I'm always on Instagram.
We're definitely gonna put the handle here too.
Perfect. Thank you.
For anyone, because we never know. And the good thing is that you said it ranges everywhere from AC business all the way to
The Florida Senate.
To the Senate. So you really do it all.
Yeah, I try. I try.
So usually, like, the mayor turns the podcast around. Is there anything you would like to ask the students that you met today, or is there anything that you're curious about how the podcast works?
I'm very curious for the students who are in the broadcasting program, what got them interested in this? You know, what inspired you to become to engage in this elective? I'm assuming it's an elective course.
Correct, it is. Brian. No, just say it from there. Just say it out loud.
I heard about it through my cousin, and she told me, oh, it's a good class. It's pretty chill. You get to go pretty cool places. You get to meet pretty cool people. And I was like, all right, I'll go for it. And then when I met Alberto and Ariel, I was like, oh, this is cool as hell. Because, like, it's what I like to do. Audio, editing, video. It's what I like to do, and it's entertaining.
That's awesome.
I got the mayor to tell me. He's like at the Mayor's Cafe, the one that he owns by the Winn-Dixie. I forgot which street it was.
Yeah, Mayor's Cafe in Miami Lakes.
Miami
Yeah.
Lakes.
He was like, oh, you should come do this. You should come do it. You're a student of Miami Lakes. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, when you go, just ask me, and we'll get you set up, and I'll talk to people about it. And then soon enough, I'm right here.
There you go.
1 year. It's interesting. I'm gonna do it next year till senior year.
Awesome.
And it's a potential career choice.
There you go.
Never know.
I always say it's great exposure for them.
Absolutely.
I mean, you need to know how to conduct yourself, and not only not only in person, but like it's so much different. And you might have experienced the same. It's so much different when you're in front of a camera, when you have to talk to a microphone. You were telling me, like, my God, my voice sounds weird to me, and that's an adaptation process to
Absolutely.
it.
And you realize how much you fidget, or what weird things your face does that you don't see, because we never see our face. We see a mirror and we see a picture, but we never really see our face.
So the question is, are you gonna watch your own
Yeah,
episode?
I'll watch it, and then don't tell my mom I did this, but I'll definitely watch it and have my husband look at me and just like drool.
Well, you know what? We talked about him. You gave him a shout out, so he can only love the episode.
He can only love the episode, so we'll see.
And we talked about your achievements.
Yes. So maybe my mom will watch it then. Maybe a little reminder.
So you heard it here first. Lorente Pazos Consulting, and you definitely want to contact them for any business needs, even if it's just yourself, that you want to put yourself out there.
Right.
How about, like, if we need to build up a resume or social media presence for a certain application?
Right. No, absolutely. A social media portfolio helps from a pediatrician to an air conditioning company. You never know.
100%. So thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
being
much for
here,
having
and
me.
it's really been a pleasure to have you, to hear your input and everything that you had to give us today. Don't forget to follow us on social media and to see us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and we'll be here.
Awesome.
This is the last episode. We'll definitely be back in August. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Tiffany.
much.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.